Night of the Digging Dog by John Sazaklis. Chapter 1. Dig, Dog, Dig.
Dig, dog, dig.
George had always wanted a dog. Then one day his parents got him Romero. Romero looked like a normal dog and did normal dog stuff. Except for one thing. On every walk, Romero pulled George into the cemetery. The dog raced through the iron gates. He sniffed each grave in search of something. "This place gives me the creeps," George said. One stormy night was extra creepy. Winds howled. Heavy rain made the dirt muddy and soft. Romero stopped at an old tombstone. He sniffed the grave. Then he began to dig. George was cold and scared. He tugged on the dog's leash, but Romero kept digging. Boom! Thunder rumbled. Finally, Romero pulled out something from the deep, dark hole. "Ah!" George screamed. Chapter 2. Finders Creepers. Lightning flashed. The dirt moved beneath George's feet. He looked down and saw something moving in the hole. Boom! Thunder crashed again. George dropped the leash and ran for home. George raced into his house and slammed the door. He was dripping wet and out of breath. His heart felt like it could beat out of his chest. Moments later, Romero ran to the backyard with his new toy. George's parents saw the dog running around on the muddy grass. He was acting stranger than normal. "What's going on?" asked George's mom. "You look like you've seen a ghost," added his dad. "I think I did," said George. "Romero found a bone in the cemetery," George began. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock. George nearly jumped out of his boots. "I think its owner followed us home," George screamed. "Don't be silly," said his dad as he opened the door. No one was there. Chapter 3. Rest in Peace. The rain stopped. George's mom grabbed a flashlight and went outside. George and his dad followed closely behind. Romero was barking loudly. The family ran to the backyard. Next to the dog stood a shadowy figure. Mom pointed the flashlight at the figure. The light passed through most of it. George gasped. "It's a skeleton!" The skeleton had only one arm. The other was in Romero's mouth. George's mom and dad stared in shock. George smiled and said, "Is this your past owner?" Romero barked and wagged his tail. The skeleton picked up its arm and threw it in the air. Romero jumped and caught the bone in his mouth. Chomp! George could not believe his eyes. "They are playing catch!" he cried. The skeleton nodded and popped its arm back in place. Then it waved goodbye. Romero started to dig again. He quickly dug a big hole in the backyard. Then the dog barked at his bony friend. "He wants to bury the skeleton in the backyard," George said. "Mom, Dad, can we keep it?" George asked. George's parents could only nod. The skeleton gave them both a big hug. Then the skeleton climbed into the freshly dug grave.